A year ago, my ex left me for her personal trainer. She said she was in love, and packed her bags without a second thought. Fast forward to today, she's broke, heartbroken, and begging me to take her back. You won't believe how it ended. I'm 27M, and about a year ago, my life went completely off the rails. I was in a 3-year relationship with Rebecca, 26F, and things seemed great. We were serious, talking about moving in together, even tossing around the idea of marriage in those casual half-joking but not really kind of ways. For the most part, I believed we were solid. But as it turns out, I was wrong. Around that time, I got into fitness. I had this personal trainer Jason, 31M, charismatic guy, always knew how to crack a joke and light up a room. When I introduced Rebecca to him, they clicked instantly. I didn't think much of it at the time. I mean, I figured good rapport, right? Maybe he was motivating her to stay consistent. Turns out, he was motivating her in more ways than one. It started small. Rebecca became more distant, started staying out late after training sessions, and her phone suddenly became her most guarded possession. Do not disturb mode became her default setting, and any time I asked about it, she'd wave me off like I was being clingy or paranoid. Looking back, the signs were obvious. But when you're in it, you don't always want to believe the worst. Well, turns out I wasn't paranoid. One night, though, the illusion shattered. She left her phone on the counter while she was in the shower, and it lit up with a text from Jason. My gut told me to look, and I did. Let's just say it wasn't about meal plans or workout routine. When Rebecca came out of the bathroom, I was already sitting there, her phone in my hand, staring at the messages. She froze, probably realizing exactly what I'd seen. Are you serious? I asked, holding up the phone. You and Jason? She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she broke down, ugly crying, the whole 9 yards. Through sobs, she admitted that she'd been seeing him for months. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, like that made it better. I didn't want to hurt you, but I fell in love with him. Right. She didn't mean to cheat, it just happened. Like she tripped and fell, and suddenly she was sleeping with my trainer. When she confessed, I didn't even let her finish her sob story. I cut her off mid-sentence and told her, get out. Pack your stuff and go. If Jason's what you want, don't let me stop you, but don't think for a second you're staying here. I told her to get out, and she packed up and moved in, as I know with him. For me, though? To be honest, that was the start of one of the worst periods of my life. When she left, it was like someone had taken a wrecking ball to my entire life. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every thought circled back to the same question: how the hell did I not see this coming? The first few weeks were rough. Therapy became a lifeline, and the gym, ironically the place where this whole mess started, turned into my sanctuary. I'd show up every day, sometimes twice, just to have something to focus on besides the empty space she left behind. Blocking her was the best decision I made during that time. No texts, no calls, no social media. Out of sight, out of mind, or at least, that's what I told myself. Of course, moving on wasn't that simple. The pain lingered, like a dull ache that refused to fade. But over time, things started to get better. Therapy helped me unpack the mess in my head, and my friends, God bless them, pulled me out of my funk more times than I can count. Slowly but surely, I rebuilt. I found a new rhythm, one that didn't include her. The scars stayed, though. It's hard to go through something like that and not come out a little cynical. Just when I thought I was finally free of her, Rebecca reappeared. It started with a text from a number I didn't recognize. At first, I was going to ignore it, but something, call it curiosity, stupidity, whatever, made me open it. It was her. She started with small talk, like we were old friends. Then she dropped the bomb. She missed me. She said she'd been thinking about me for months, but didn't know how to reach out after everything she'd done. Her life, she explained, had gone completely off the rails. Apparently, Jason wasn't the knight in shining armor she'd imagined. Shocker, right? She found out he'd been cheating on her, karma working faster than usual, and their relationship imploded. Now she was alone, broke, and realizing what she'd lost. The kicker? She wanted me back. "I've changed," she said. "I've learned so much, and I realize now that what we had was real. I made a mistake, and I want to make things right. Can we meet? Just to talk?" I should have said no. I knew better. But some part of me, the part that spent 3 years with her, that still carried the ghost of our relationship, or the one who wanted some kind of closure, agreed. I agreed to meet her for coffee. Honestly, I wasn't sure why. Maybe I wanted closure, or maybe I was just curious to see what she had to say. Either way, I showed up at a little cafe near my place, not knowing what to expect. She looked different when she walked in, not bad, just worn. Like life had taken its toll on her. The confident, bubbly Rebecca I remembered was gone. She started with an apology. A long, emotional apology. She admitted that leaving me for Jason was the biggest mistake of her life and that she'd been paying for it ever since. Their relationship, she explained, was a disaster. He cheated on her, lied to her, and left her completely wrecked. "I thought I was trading up," she said, her voice shaking. "But I was so wrong." I listened without saying much. Honestly, I wasn't sure what she expected me to do with all of this. Then she pivoted. She started talking about our relationship, how, despite her betrayal, she'd realized what we had was real. But then came the twist. She said she felt like I wasn't the perfect partner, either. According to her, I'd been emotionally distant at times, too focused on work or the gym, and didn't always make her feel appreciated. She wasn't trying to justify what she did, so she claimed, but she wanted me to understand why she'd been vulnerable to Jason's attention. I just sat there, letting her talk. Part of me wondered if she actually believed what she was saying, or if this was just her way of trying to soften the blow of her own guilt. Finally, she got to the point. "I want to make things right," she said, her voice cracking. "I've changed. I'm not that person anymore. I want to prove to you that we can have something better this time." I leaned back in my chair and let her words hang in the air. She looked at me, waiting, probably expecting some emotional speech or a dramatic reunion. Instead, I just smiled. "Rebecca," I said calmly, "I'm sorry I wasn't the best guy to you. I didn't realize I was so terrible at making you feel valued. But you know what? The good news is that now you're free to find someone better." Her face went blank, like she couldn't process what I'd just said. I stood up, dropped a couple of bucks on the table for my coffee, and added, "Good luck, Rebecca." She opened her mouth to say something, but I didn't stick around to hear it. I walked out of that cafe without looking back. As I stepped outside, a wave of relief hit me. For the first time, I felt like I had all the power. She wanted me to be her safety net, her plan B, but I wasn't that guy anymore. She made her choice a year ago, and now I'd made mine.